So other offensive risers recently, Omarion Hampton is a guy we've talked about, the running back out of North Carolina that is getting mocked as the second running back off the board. Not just the second running back behind Ashton Jeanty, but the second running back in the first round. Ashton Jeanty currently at number 7 on the consensus board. Omarion Hampton has hit his peak at 31. For people tracking the consensus board, as I have through the last few months, it used to be Jeanty's top 10, and then the next chunk of running backs are like in the 50s. And Hampton has jumped up into 31. We see him mocked to the Denver Broncos quite a bit. So you're showing that rise for Hampton, which is, again, pretty steep after the season here.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out this actually works reasonably well. So we can do this. Use the grinding the mocks thing. You can Google that and find our guy Benjamin Robinson's website, which shows all this data. Yeah, massive like surge up the board there recently for Omarion Hampton. Big part of that is the combine. Obviously, he was there, looked impressive, put up some good numbers. But it is interesting to how much he's closing on Ashton Jeanty, who has been like the consensus, not just top running back, but elite level player, all-time production this season, crazy prospect. And all of a sudden this is becoming, I mean, even look at this. This is like the top 4 running backs effectively consensus wise. Hampton is leaving the gaggle of the other 2 and joining Jeanty. Like he's bridging the gap between the 2 in the last like few weeks.
Is this we got a little Jeanty fatigue, or because we look, we always say there's a million opinions out there. You'll find somebody that has. Yeah. We found many people that had Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson, which in hindsight doesn't look crazy. It's a fine take. We're starting to get some of the Omarion Hampton over Ashton Jeanty opinions. I don't think I'm going to land at that opinion. I think Jeanty's right. the clear number 1 here. But as we say all the time in the draft, if 3 years from now, Hampton's the best running back or Travion Henderson's the best running back, we know that type of stuff happens all the time. So is this crazy to think about Omarion Hampton actually challenging Ashton Jeanty as the top running back here?
I mean, again, I don't think you can say it's crazy. I do think it's a harder case to make than the Gibbs over Bijan one. Gibbs, at least, was a very different type of runner. And if you were making the case at the time for Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson, what you would be saying is, look at this explosiveness, look at this home run ability, like one instant and he's gone, like blip, touchdown, right? Hampton is not that. He's definitely dynamic and explosive and he's got big plays, but he's not like Jahmyr Gibbs, a guy that can run a 4.3 flat, a guy that like just outruns everybody the second the ball's in his hands. Like, I don't think there's that giant gap in that world between Jeanty and Hampton. Now, I do think it is some Jeanty fatigue, and I think it's similar to Will Johnson and to be fair, looking at that chart, like Jeanty's not falling, it's Hampton rising. Yeah. Right. But I do think it's sort of people are not focusing on Jeanty at the moment. So all of a sudden it's like, oh, look at what Hampton's doing. Like, look at these numbers. Look at this production at the combine. Look at this tape. Like, while Jeanty is sort of not doing anything, not cementing anything, everyone's focusing on Hampton. And it's like, oh, this guy's got ball too. So I think that's kind of what's happening. But I do think it's a tougher sell to say that Hampton is a better prospect than Jeanty than it was to at least construct the argument that I like Gibbs over Bijan Robinson.
Omarion Hampton, I mean, he runs, we were talking about 90th percentile speed and explosion numbers, 40 at 4.46, a 1.54 10-yard split. Both are very good. 38-inch vertical jump, very good. 10-foot, 10-inch broad jump, very, very good at 221 pounds, right? That's the combo, right? Pretty stout body and explosive at 6 foot, 221 at the combine. So that is a big part of the reason why I think people are jumping on the Hampton bandwagon. We've talked a little bit about his vision and his actual football playing. I do think scheme dependency is going to be a thing for Hampton. Like, when I look at Jeanty, I think he fits anything. If you run gap, or if you run inside zone, outside zone, I think Jeanty can do it all. I have some concerns about Hampton if he went to, I don't want to say Baltimore, because everybody in Baltimore averages 6 yards per carry, but a team that runs more gap scheme, where he's setting, like, runs into his blockers a little bit more than I would like. Maybe you can learn that, but I don't love him in the power counter type of scheme versus an inside-outside zone type of scheme.
I do have concerns about his vision. I think he's physically incredibly talented. Like his ability to bounce outside, to explode through gaps, to maximize yardage, to outrun people, to outmuscle people, all spectacular. Like he's physically one of the most impressive running backs you're going to find. But I sort of feel like he's almost like a turbocharged version of DeAndre Swift, where there have been seasons where people are like, why is DeAndre Swift, not re-upping with this team? Why is he not getting the big contract? And it's like, because as spectacular as Swift can be, his vision stinks. And I'm not saying Hampton stinks, but like Swift's vision is terrible for the position. And so he's capable of making spectacular plays. And when he gets it, like he's able to turn, a play that's nothing into something. And like some of the highlights are spectacular, but like teams consistently go, this is annoying, right? Like you're missing this read, you're not hitting the right gap, you're trying to do something different. And so they move on. And, Detroit moved on, Philadelphia have moved on. Like teams consistently like go, as good as the special stuff is, we're kind of annoyed by the negative. I feel like Hampton has got some similar traits to him where like the misreads are going to be a bigger problem at the next level. And I wonder if you're going to get, not that teams will sour on him or move on from him, but I wonder if you're going to get a very inconsistent level of production from him because of that.
Yeah, and the thing I want to reiterate from the other day when we talked about the number of times that offensive line, I don't think did him any favors. There was other times they were fine, but there were certain games where UNC, outside of the great Willie Hampton, they were unable to block. They were unable to Lampkin. Sorry, jeez. Good work, Steve. Getting old, chair's broken. Willie Lampkin, by the way, stole the show every time I watched Omarion Hampton. I was mesmerized by his ability to play with leverage and move people. And even when he lost, it was like he was still kind of attached and still kind of moving people and making things happen. Anyway, Willie Lampkin, I apologize for my slip there. I still want Willie Lampkin on my team. But yeah, Hampton, the inconsistency showed, but there was inconsistency in the line. I also didn't think he was like a lower the pads, just pick up that extra 1 yard or two. And he's got some, I love Cam Scatterbo because of his contact balance. I mean, Hampton has some of those ridiculous Matrix-like contact balance plays where it's like, how did you stay up? And you're more explosive. He's more explosive than Scatterbo. But some of those just drop the pads, pick up the extra 1 or 2 when you need to. I didn't see that either from Hampton. So I see inconsistency, but if you give him the good blocking, a good wide zone type of scheme, I think he can have a lot of success.
Remember, Scatterbo's jumps were spectacular at the combine. Turns out Scatterbo might be more explosive than you give him credit for.
He might be. I don't want to disparage Scatterbo, though. I don't think the top end speed is there.
No, but that's not. I mean, that's theoretically not explosiveness, right? Like the explosiveness.
No, I know that's true.
The 10-yard, the jumps, like those actually were way better than I think people were expecting to. Now it's probably there may be some signal in the fact that he didn't run the 40, but the explosiveness might actually be there.
Anything else on Hampton before we get to the next offensive riser here?
No, just, I mean, again, fascinating one because physically very talented. Like the explosive runs are impressive. Like there's a lot of reasons to like his tape. I think probably rising into the first round makes sense. I don't quite again, the idea of him bridging the gap between the other running backs in this draft class and Jeanty is a little bit at some point, I think the Rice should stop short of Jeanty as opposed to bridging the gap all the way there. And all of a sudden we're talking about, wow, these two guys are basically a coin flip. I think
I
Jeanty
agree.
is clearly the best running back in this draft class.
I agree.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.